All right, let's just jump right in. Today we're doing a full corporate autopsy on what really should have been a wildly simple everyday IT task. But instead, it completely morphed into this legendary workplace disaster. We are diving deep into the e-paperware bulk upload incident in this explainer, and honestly, it's a masterclass in how unnecessary bureaucracy can just completely dismantle a totally functional system.
So let's set the stage here. The agency's Nuclear Protection Program, or the NPP, had this third-party vendor scan an absolute mountain of physical paper documents into digital PDF files, and we are talking about 1 terabyte of data. 1 terabyte of just scanned text documents. That's a massive amount of paper. All of that needed to be moved into the agency's computer system. Now, you might be wondering, how hard could it possibly be to just move those files into a system that was specifically designed to hold them? Well, buckle up.
To really understand how this disaster unfolded, we have to look at our two key players. First up, we've got our protagonist, Chevron. He is the developer. He's the resident system expert who actually builds and maintains e-paperware. He knows it inside out. And then our source documents introduce the antagonist, the pointy-haired manager, or as we'll call her, PHM. She's an ambitious middle manager who, as you'll see, is about to engineer a truly spectacular catastrophe right before our eyes.
Now, the most fascinating part of this whole ordeal is what the original plan actually was. It was beautifully, incredibly simple. You see, e-paperware already had a built-in drag-and-drop feature made for this exact scenario. The standard everyday process: you just train the NPP users, let them test it out in a safe environment, and then they literally just drag their folders and drop them right into the application. That's it. Easy, right? It's like moving files on your own desktop.
But of course, it couldn't be that easy. Enter PHM, who completely hijacks the entire project. Out of nowhere, she sends this mock-serious, super formal email to upper executives claiming she has, quote, concerns regarding personal information, auditing, and governance. She suddenly demands a rigorous review process and explicitly states she requires full documentation for these activities. So, with literally just this one email, she seizes total control of the bulk upload. She completely scraps the built-in drag-and-drop feature because she wants to build her very own custom automated empire.
The problem is, her supposed master plan was immediately riddled with massive red flags. First off, her sudden panic about personal information, it only targeted the Nuclear Protection Program. She completely ignored the exact same potential data issues in literally every other branch of the agency. Second, she immediately framed the everyday end users as the problem, ripping the tool totally out of their hands. And the biggest red flag of all? She decided to build her entirely untested custom migration directly in the live production environment. Zero testing area, no safety net whatsoever.
And the timeline of how she pulled this off builds into what the source documents brilliantly refer to as the engineering of institutional exclusion. To build her little custom empire, PHM actively worked to eliminate Chevron, the one guy who actually understands how the software works. She created this phantom panic on January 22nd, and by the very next day, she started pushing him out. Fast forward to 2 months, and her tactics get even wilder. She was literally sending him meeting invites 5 minutes after the meetings had already started, just so she could create a fake paper trail claiming he was a no-show. She went entirely out of her way to manufacture a paper trail to make Chevron look incredibly busy so he couldn't interfere. She abruptly reassigned him to what she called high-priority dashboard projects, specifically the Peeping Tom dashboard and the BOA dashboard. But let's be real here. The actual reality? Both of those projects were total vaporware. They had been completely dormant, literally untouched for over a year. She invented fake urgency on dead projects just to justify keeping the one e-paperware expert as far away from e-paperware as humanly possible. So, what exactly happens when you completely shut out the system's expert? Well, you get a secret black box. She built this blind, automated process that couldn't even follow the software's most basic rules. For instance, she totally ignored the system's built-in organizing robot. E-paperware actually has a very specific secret formula for how it stores files on the network so it can locate them later, and she flat out refused to consult Chevron on what that formula even was. We don't even know what text reading tools she used, if any. And, to make matters worse, she deliberately didn't add the documents to the full text server, meaning the text inside all of these newly uploaded documents became completely unsearchable. A total dead end.
And her management style during this entire development phase? Just as chaotic as her coding. Think about a normal professional workflow. You discuss technical needs, you collaborate, you share feedback. But PHM? She used weaponized scheduling. She would actually organize status meetings and then simply not show up, deliberately leaving Chevron holding the bag in front of confused colleagues. Or alternatively, she'd hold secret meetings directly with the users, sit there and listen to their rapidly growing list of complaints about her broken system, and then deliberately hide those complaints from Chevron so he didn't even have a chance to try and fix them. After months of all this secretive, excluded work, the result is exactly what you would expect: a glorious, unmitigated disaster. The original vendor had neatly organized everything into distinct, logical folders: Box 1, Box 2, nice and clean. PHM's automated system completely ignored all of that. It just scrambled totally unrelated documents together, jumbling them into the same folders. Almost overnight, users started complaining that they couldn't find their files. And the real kicker? Even if they got lucky and did manage to find them, the system physically refused to open the files anyway. It was a complete and total digital pileup.
The situation quickly became so dire and the data was so thoroughly mangled that they hit an absolute brick wall. Because remember, she did all of this rogue development directly in the live production environment. There was no simple undo button, no backup to easily roll back to. The source material notes that the only realistic way forward might actually be to run the vendor's integrity check tool, use it to aggressively delete all of her junk data, burn the entire Phantom migration to the ground, and just start completely from scratch. Months of work completely wasted.
But wait, here is the absolute most hilarious irony of this entire debacle. Think back to that dramatic email from January, the one about the rigorous review and protecting personal info. Well, after months of secret development, endless fake meetings, and literally breaking the entire system, nobody actually knows if her automated monstrosity ever checked a single file for personal data. It's wild. She used governance as a weapon to hijack the project and then apparently completely forgot to actually do the governing.
Which finally brings us to the end of our autopsy. The stated goal here was supposedly absolute governance and rigorous auditing, but the reality? A totally inaccessible system. A wildly simple, functional drag-and-drop feature was replaced by complete and utter digital paralysis, all driven by one middle manager's desire for absolute control. It really leaves you wondering, is the true definition of corporate governance simply making sure no one can do their job at all? Let that sink in.